I never know what my voice will sound like till I start talking. Forgive the raspiness. I'm still kind of getting over some voice difficulties that have existed for about the past year. So those of you who've heard me speak before would probably say it doesn't sound like it used to sound. It's going to get better. They keep telling me it's going to get better. I am really pleased to be joining the very distinguished speakers who presented so far. I want to congratulate each of you for coming forward in this event, but at the same time I want to point out Jennifer Thompson, whose book I read, of course, and whose story I think is particularly compelling when you think of the risks of eyewitness identification. 38 years ago, when I became a lawyer, I came to work as a prosecutor here in Franklin County, and my immediate manager was a man who later became the county prosecutor, Mike Miller. And one of the earliest lessons he taught me was that the most unreliable form of evidence will be eyewitness identification. You just can't trust it. Since that time in my professional work, including my work as State Attorney General, I really came to believe more and more, listening to experts, that the mind isn't as good as we think it is. And the memory is really not what we think it is at all, and it is still not very reliable evidence. 29 years ago, in this building next door, I voted as part of a small subcommittee of the Judiciary Committee, as my first year in the state legislature, and thereafter on the floor of the House of Representatives, in favor of capital punishment. I supported capital punishment, and I still do. So I voted in favor of the bill that is the law of the land for the state of Ohio at the current time. I gave a lot of thought to all of that, and I came to believe that it was the right course, and I still, as I say, believe that is the right course. I was one of the very few on the subcommittee that became the swing to actually create Ohio's death penalty law, which I still support, as I say. But the one point I made in committee in those days, and on the floor of the House in those days, a long time ago, and more recently in my service as Attorney General, is Ohio can never make a mistake. We have to be absolutely certain, because there's no going back once the punishment occurs. And so I come here today because with Kevin Keith, it is clear from the record, it is clear from the evidence that there's no absolute certainty here, and there needs to be greater certainty before we go forward. I've corresponded with the governor accordingly. He's heard from me previously on other matters, but I will tell you that having monitored 19 executions during my time as State Attorney General, on only one occasion did I have a comparable concern. It involved a man by the name of John Spurko. He would have been the first person that we would have executed that had been convicted solely on evidence that wasn't as conclusive as it should be. In fact, it was circumstantial evidence only, no corroboration, and I felt really concerned. And the only step I could take as Attorney General is request a reprieve from the governor, which he granted. I think I asked for 7 or 8 more after that in 2005 and 2006. We continued to test for DNA and bodily excretions, everything that was in any evidence box anywhere relating to that crime. We were wanting to make absolute certain if we had to do so. And as you may recall, ultimately Governor Strickland granted a commutation from the death penalty to life in prison without parole. And so John Spurko remains in prison, but he will not be executed. In Kevin Keith's case, even today, there are facts that have been raised, legitimate facts that are truly new evidence and fit within the definition of new evidence that need to be adjudicated before this could even potentially go forward. But I suggest to you, every bit of evidence I've looked at suggests that there might be an innocent man here. And therefore, among all the reasons that we've talked about, the state cannot go forward with an execution. And I've urged that there be clemency in this case for exactly that reason. Thanks very much.